Okay.
Second.
All those in favor of accepting the minutes of the August, those who can vote, of the July 19th? I can't.
Recording
I
in
can't either.
progress.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Next is the treasurer's report.
I think I gave, should I do that?
It's up to you. I'm more than happy. So I printed out a budget report, how I'm used to doing it, and I had sent it to Marie, and we didn't have a chance to talk through it.
Right.
Also, this, how it looks is probably different from what you've seen before. But this is how I've done my budgets for your typical nonprofit. Understand that it's different for a municipality. Should all be the same information, just organized differently. So more than happy to adjust as you see
Is this
fit.
what you're, yeah?
Yeah.
I love it.
It's much clearer. I can understand
Very, yeah.
where the money is.
Much easier.
Much simpler.
I didn't get back to you because I have been, are we on yet?
I think we are. No worries, because I was busy too.
I
So-
have, I'm going through, say it, vertigo, and I should be, tomorrow's my last appointment, so
Oh, I'm sorry.
I won't fall over.
That's good.
Well, just give me a notice if it happens.
No, this
So-
looks good.
Yeah, the only things that I might, certainly happy to answer any questions that you have, things that I would draw your attention to is one, I like having a clear end date, so I don't go through, I want to compare apples to apples, right?
Yes.
So I go through the end of the month, which is, for this particular board meeting, it would be through the end of July. So brand new fiscal year, clearly we have the year ahead of us, hence, you know, the balance. The two pieces would be that we are expecting the MCC grant to come in, you know, after the performance. So that should come in September, is likely, so that's why we still have the 699 in our budget. And then also for the revolving account, that is our estimated balance. The town is still closing out the books for last year, so it should be pretty close to this number that we have on there, around 18,287.95. And then the formula grant, also, I'm assuming because of transitions last year wasn't fully utilized, so we'll roll that over to this year and anticipate using that. So the balance from FY '23 is, you know, 12,691.51. And then for the budget, I don't know if you saw it on the board report, but exciting news that there's an increase to the formula grant. So it went from $12 per elder to $14 per elder. Certainly it's based on census numbers, so we don't have the contract yet, so we don't have the exact dollar amount. So I did the average between this year's and last year, or FY '23 and FY '24. So this $40,000 is a rough estimate. It might be a little above, it might be a little below.
So is the formula grant based on 60 plus or 65 plus? Do you know?
I worked off the actual number of people on, that they had in their database for FY '23. So I don't know that exact number, but I can look at it.
Okay.
That would be interesting to know.
Yeah.
No, that's great, because it had just gone up last year, too, significantly. I mean, and so this money, the formula grant goes from when to when, do you know? I mean, last year we got it like in October. the
Yeah, so their
increase.
fiscal year is slightly different,
Okay.
right? So their fiscal year, I do believe, is in October, and hence when the money comes out, they will distribute it, they say by February of 2024. But you are correct that we have consistently received it in October.
And have we gotten the money from the DOT?
Not yet, and that is pending signatures that I need to obtain from selectmen. Yep. I will do. But they seem to think that we'll get it by September, end of September, no problem, and that is the town deadline. Yeah.
Certainly hope so.
Yeah, so those were the two big things, and I can talk more about it in my board report, but happy to answer any questions now.
I love this plan. It's so easy to understand. This
Yeah,
is what
this is
we
great.
had,
Thank
this
you.
is, and this is what we have, this is what we've spent, this is what we end up with in one simple line.
I have to
Very-
say, I think it's great.
Yes.
Coming from a confused,
That other mess.
yes, that I never was able to figure, I didn't know if things were carried over, a lot of information I didn't have, which is probably my fault, but this is perfect.
Thank you, Alyssa, this is great.
Yes.
And now we can segue right into the director's report,
Okay.
please.
Oh, did you want to discuss this other piece, or is that part of
That's
yours?
separate, that's part of the report.
Okay, okay.
Oh, we have nutrition.
As if there's something, I had an amendment.
So my report, I will just highlight a few things. If there's anything that you all want to discuss in more detail, please don't hesitate, because we'd love to have that conversation while we are here together. So we just went over the finance. The big thing really is that increase to cultural councils across the state from $12 to $14. So huge thank you to all our advocates in town and with our House and state representatives for making that happen. As we mentioned, the MCC grant will be coming in, and do hope to continue those plans for a new round of grant applications will be accepted in October. We'll submit for MCC. Which leads into my 90-day plan. And I think later that we were going to talk about performance evaluations and so forth. So I will sort of preemptively say that this is sort of my internal plan and how I'm sort of working through things. Certainly want to be aligned with board goals and organizational goals. I think, my last 30 days really has been a lot of just meeting people, actively listening to people, and sort of starting to form thoughts about next steps. And so then this next 30 days is really gleaning that information and figuring out how to put plans into action, what is feasible for this year, what's feasible for next year, and sort of developing priorities in correlation with the team and the needs of the community that we're serving. And a huge piece of that is certainly the newsletter and collecting feedback from our constituents there. The last piece of the 90 days will then be to, once I have that priority list and we're aligned, to really make a vision statement for myself and leadership of the organization to communicate with the team about what our strategic goals are for the next year, and hopefully ideally also share it with our constituents too, so that they know that we are working for them, and this is what our collaborative goals are. So a lot more details in there, but happy to answer any questions, and or if you have any feedback for me now, I'm more than happy to hear that.
I just think so far, you have been so professional in everything you have done. Your email about, van driver hiring, this is over and beyond what I ever expected, so, right, agreed, yes.
Thank you, Laurel.
We're very
Appreciate it.
pleased, I am anyway.
Second the motion.
Absolutely, I would agree with that. And as we kind of discussed briefly, especially those of us that are new to the board, we're so used to not having a director, and we had to step in so much in the past, right, Laurel?
Yes.
And do so much. Now we have you on board. We've hired you, we have extreme confidence in you, and you've already shown your ability in so many ways. So now we're not going to be helicopter parents, we're going to let you fly.
When was the last time you saw me?
No.
So thank you for
Yes.
what you've done and what you
I
hope to do
would
in the
like to,
future.
I would like to piggyback on that, and thank you for your resourcefulness and your resilience, especially when reading a phrase, adaptable to the evolving landscape. Because if there's anything on which we can count, it is that there will be change.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Absolutely. So that definitely leans itself into the challenges on the next portion, and I'll maybe start from bottom up, since we're talking about, next steps in my 30 days, is the newsletter. So I called Barbara yesterday afternoon, and I thought I was going to give her bad news, but by the time I reached her in the evening, everything has been resolved. So there were some issues with the newsletter printing. Certainly, we are all under the impression, right, that the printer would print it for free because they've done so, but understandably, there is a marked number of prints that they are willing to make for free. And so we had talked about it ahead, but then this week she had called, very apologetic. We can't do it. I'm so sorry. That said, one of the reasons we wanted to do the newsletter, right, is so that we could cut down on printing. So we are just going to, as we wanted to, cut down on printing in the future couple of sessions, so that bottom line, the numbers still equal, the calendar year's worth of prints for them.
Oh.
So we are all set. We are printing, and it should go, they need the final by this evening or tomorrow morning, and it will print. They will send it to the people that will be doing the mailing for us. It should arrive there by Monday or Tuesday, and then it will go out in the mail midweek next week. And yeah.
So I'm sorry, was the issue,
The issue was that that the printer, our contract actually states that they do a max number of prints
Like-
per.
max number of copies?
Yeah.
So whatever it is for the entire year or per run?
So the contract is written per run, but we've talked it through that we are just going to evenly distribute to make sure that we don't go over the per run for the year.
I'm still confused, I'm sorry.
I think she wasn't at our meeting when we discussed, at the Friends
Right.
meeting.
It was
wasn't
at the Friends
The amount of
meeting.
copies going out.
So yes, sorry.
I think
Thank
that's
you
where
for
we
that.
lost Deb.
Sorry.
We
Yeah.
are printing 2,700 copies of the newsletter.
Each month, each run?
No, for
No.
just this
For each run?
particular.
Or no?
Just for the September, October. run.
2,700, and what is it normally?
And normally it's run about 1,400.
Ah,
Uh-huh.
Deb,
so
this is
that's-
going to every household
It's going
in
to every
Groveland.
household.
Young
because
people,
of
every
the calendar.
household.
oh, so it's
Because
going to every household in
Right.
Groveland, not just seniors?
this one,
Yes.
just this one.
Okay,
And that's
Because we're
because
trying
of
to
the
get
calendar.
friends, we're trying to get feedback.
okay.
Yes.
Let
Thank you.
people know.
I missed that part.
Yeah.
That was
You
a
missed
Friends
that.
meeting.
It's
Yeah.
done
Okay.
through the Friends. and-
Yes, that's why I didn't know.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
thank you for that, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so mass mailing to all the residents in Groveland, hoping to get feedback
Right.
on our services, hoping to get more friends, members, and hoping that they're inserting the calendar fundraiser in there as well, so really hoping to boost sales for that. So that is why there's a larger print, also with the aim of people will sign up for the e-newsletter, and we can shrink our mailing list for future.
And we're sending it to a company that does this mass mailing for very low price, 31 cents a per,
Yeah, I think it was around 31 cents a mailing.
is this expense of this coming out of the revolving fund? Are the Friends paying for the expense of this?
The Friends are paying
Friends are
directly
paying for this, for the,
This one.
for the expense,
of the
this-
postage.
the extra expense associated with this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, if you take what your monthly amount is that you would send out, or bi-monthly, and multiply it by 6, in the end of this year, we will have that same amount, because we're not going to be sending 2,700 in December, we're going to be sending fewer and fewer, and it will all add up to the big number that we should have had.
Yes.
And you were
Yes,
very good
thank
about, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's great, that you were able to negotiate with the company, so thank you on that.
Of course, of course.
And hopefully we'll be able to actually print fewer because more people, we anticipate,
Yes.
will sign up to get this
That is the
newsletter
hope.
through email.
Yeah, that is the hope. So there's that. So with that, I printed out 3 color copies of the newsletter. They might be around, and this is only the first couple of pages. The rest of the content will be the same as before, having the trips and programming and so forth. So on the front, that lovely sky picture, I would like to replace with a group picture.
I thought you were going to put us in the sky.
Flying with our wings.
I just want it to be an angel.
On a broom?
And certainly it's up to comfort level. If people don't want their picture on the front, I absolutely understand. My thought behind it was people might get it and say, hey, I know Marie. I want to read this. What does it have to say? So that was my thought, and also might be inviting to put names to faces for people to know us. I tried to put in there, this is still a draft, so if you see anything, let me know. The name, that was a placeholder. We can delete it, we could change it, we could
I like
have a
it.
contest of people wanting to name our newsletter. I don't know.
That was age.
I like it.
I like that.
I like
think
it.
that's really cool.
And then I tried to let people know why they're receiving this, because I don't want them to be like, why? I didn't sign up for this. Why do I have
I'm not a
this?"
senior.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was the intention of that first message on there. And then the second page was sort of my letter to the community, still working on it, drafting it. But for your feedback, and I know it's incredibly short, is the survey that I put together.
But you know what? It's good that it's short. The questions you ask, the things you ask, will give you enough data. If it's too long, no one's
Oh, yeah.
going to fill it
Yep,
out.
Yep. So I'm hoping, so we'll have it in the newsletter. People can cut it out and send it if they want. We'll also have it online. I'll put in the link once that's set up for people to submit online. I'll make it more printer friendly so that we have copies in the office and so that we can have it at Groveland Days too for people to fill out there. So that's there. If you guys look at the questions asked, think that we should be asking different questions, or it's not clear, anything of the sort, any edits, definitely feel free to let me know today. And we can make that happen.
I think it's a big plus.
Oh, there's more in the back.
I like the how to get involved section.
Yes. I'll give this to you in a minute.
Okay.
I love it.
I think it's a great start to get more
Yeah,
more
and then we can
involved.
do
and
more in
Hopefully they'll
depth,
take the
yeah.
time to fill it out, or they'll
Right.
keep it and then eventually fill it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a great start and a nice change.
Yep. And I think it will give you, hopefully people will return it, and it will give you some good information. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be very interesting to me to see the percentage of people over 60 that have never used any services.
Yeah.
That would be one key thing that I'm very interested in seeing.
Great. So let me know if you happen to have time to look it over today, and we can adjust it, but there's no reason to say why we can't adjust it later for when we print out other copies to have in-house too. Okay. The other big change is Older Americans Day. As we discussed, Ruth Harkovitz was planning to join us tomorrow for the event. Lunch is at 11 o'clock. 11:30?
11:30.
11:30, thank you, Linda. And the performance is scheduled for 12:30. Ruth had called in sick yesterday. However, we do have a substitute. A lovely woman by the name of Alexandra Henderson. She comes to us as an opera singer. She is, however, very familiar with show tunes. She was actually in a production of Sound of Music not too long ago, so she has this repertoire under her belt. And she was in a number of Rodgers and Hammerstein shows as well, so I think she's going to be a really lovely addition, change to the program, still providing the Sound of Music that people are looking for. And added benefit, we will be able to have lunch indoors, because I know people really wanted to do that. So we will have lunch indoors, and she'll put on
It's gonna rain.
the performance at 12:30 here. She will be using our sound system to be the backups for her. And on short notice, I think it'll still be great. And again, a professional graduate of New England Conservatory, really just lovely woman, and looking forward to it.
How did you get someone so quickly?
I made a lot of phone calls. Yes.
Nice work.
Well, thank you for that. So
In a
quickly.
day, yes.
Wow,
In
nice
a
work.
couple of hours. Thank you so
Wow.
much.
Good recovery.
Yeah.
Oh, my, yes, indeed. Overnight. How many people are signed up?
Yeah, so we have about 46 RSVPs coming in, so it might be close to 50, yeah. So it should be a good full house. People, if you all, I know Linda had asked about coming in to help. It should be a fairly light lift, but as we know, many hands, light work. So we'll probably just be setting up the food in here and making sure that bowls and with salad and silverware and all that are out for people. So around 10:30, 11 o'clock.
So they don't say, right?
Okay.
Who are getting the food again? I can't think of the name.
I think you all are aware of the other challenges, but definitely any thoughts or questions, more than happy to answer.
Investment changes staff.
Staffing, just a real quick check-in, that Nisha and I talked about the, annual performance review that the town is doing as a whole, just due to vacation schedules, and other things we're planning to talk about it September 9th. I will email the board the template that I came up with to be specific to Nisha's role. I will certainly add my input, but you all were in much closer contact and are more knowledgeable and can give better feedback to her. So if you are interested and available to sort of fill out that form for Nisha, I think that would be a really great resource for her to utilize. So I will send that out via email, and we can discuss that.
One question, are you sure about the date, September 9th? That's a Saturday. That's the date of
September 8th.
Groveland Day. Okay.
Thank you.
I was going to say, that seems familiar to me,
festive
too.
Saturday. Thank you. Yeah, we're going to do it the Friday.
If it's on the challenges section.
For outreach coordinator, Janet and I, she had been out ill, so I have worked out some goals, particularly focusing on the probationary period that's mandated by the town of what we can accomplish in the next 6 months. we'll review it hopefully this week to make sure that we're aligned and they focus on hers and that she thinks that they're achievable and so forth. Van driver, we had 2 really great candidates. They did both pull out for separate reasons, so we will continue on. I would say, as you all are well aware, the rate, I think, the compensation rate is a hindrance, I think, to a lot of people. That said, I do think it is a really great role for the right person. So I'm hoping that the newsletter might bring out maybe a new batch of candidates, and we'll continue to post. I do have flyers, and if anyone else is interested in putting out the word, we welcome it. I know there's some interested people from past months that said they could only work seasonally or temporary. I am going to reach out to them to say, hey, the role's still open. We would love to have coverage for September, October, even if it is just temporary or one-off, just so that we have a backup person for Frank.
Will this opening be mentioned in the September, October newsletter?
Yeah, so I'm gonna put in, we are hiring, here, join us, yes, yeah. Any questions on challenges or staff check-in? Okay.
Is Janet back to work?
She is. She
Okay.
is here today. She came in yesterday. She's ready to roll. So, I'll put that in there. Quick numbers on programming. That's where that other document comes in. I put in a bar chart here. Otherwise, the details are found in this other Excel sheet. Yes.
It's COA van under transportation. It's just a typo. You have
Oh.
CAO.
CAO. Thank you.
I don't know, somehow it just jumped out as soon as I
Absolutely.
turned the page.
I will make
Not a
note.
biggie, but if it's a form you're going to be using every month.
I'll change that.
But no, this
Yeah.
is great, the comparison of,
Yeah, there's
Could you tell me-
definitely some cleanup. I will know on the My Senior Center, our database. So these numbers might change a little bit, just in regards to, I think over the years, maybe people couldn't, we've all been there, right? You can't find something quick, so then you add a new category. So I feel, Nisha and I reviewed these numbers, we feel pretty good about them, but we're going to go through the database over the next month and make it easier on ourselves to simplify all the various categories that are in there, and hopefully using just the ones that you see here, but yeah.
What is the difference again between duplicated and unduplicated?
Yes, so duplicated, and these are terms used in My Senior Center in the database that we use. So duplicated meaning that Meals on Wheels, for example, 24 individuals, unique individuals use the services, but they receive 388 as a group of meals that month. So many times, one individual is getting a meal once a week. I'm sorry, 5 times a week. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And same thing with transportation in the van rides. That's, a van ride is one way. So if we're going to Haverhill to River's Edge, that's one van ride. If we're coming back to COA to drop off, that's a second van ride, 3 and 4, so it goes on. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of people. I think it gives us good goals on what to work for, what's working, what's not, and we'll be able to see our growth as we move on in the year. The other thing I had was just board credit card transactions or board input on credit card transactions. I know I mentioned it last month, that we would love to implement online registration for our activities. So many of our activities don't require a fee, and people will be able to register online for those activities, but those that do have payments, that we collect as an agency. So things like the Older Americans Day, where there's a fee for the event, we potentially could get a credit card swipe for that. So a couple things there. I listed out the fees, and so I wanted to be transparent on what that net income would be for the events. And I really see it as a service. One, we aren't looking to make money off of anything, right? It's really going right into programming. And with that in mind, I really see it as a service to the individual of that convenience of, okay, I don't have to come down to the COA office. I can just do it from my home and pay if they so choose. So I see it as an added benefit to our clients. Yeah.
Would this be for all credit cards?
Yes.
Okay, because I thought you had to sign up for each and every one, because I know some places we don't accept Discover, or we don't accept,
Yeah, they definitely
is this
take
for each card?
Visa, MasterCard.
Okay.
I feel like they said Discover. You know, there's a couple of odd
okay,
ones.
no,
that
I
they
didn't know
like.
if each,
No, it's a
company
flat,
accepts
it's
it.
a flat rate for all the cards that they do accept. The only thing that came to my mind was there has to be a place for this money to be deposited to. So I don't know if that's even doable with the town. I sent an email to the town administrator and our accountant and CC'd Barbara of if it's possible. So if it's possible, from the town's, logistic perspective, I don't know if this is something that the board would be okay moving forward with, if it needs a vote. If not, I don't know. So I thought I would put it out there, but yeah.
Well, I liked Ellen's response, saying that bring Michelle into it, where she's
Okay.
the treasurer, and
Uh-huh.
she, it brings, all monies have to go, to her.
Okay.
Anyways, but she seemed certainly responsive to the idea and
Okay.
suggested a meeting
Okay,
um,
great.
next week with Michelle, her, and possibly Rebecca.
So they seem open to it.
Yeah,
Great.
Absolutely, absolutely, because I think they're all about, let's reach as many people as we can for whatever, is going on in town, and so I think it sounded like they'd be happy to work and
Okay.
make it happen
All right.
if they could legally. so.
So now when people come in and they give their check or they give their cash for an event, who takes those checks and physically deposits them? Marie, you actually physically take those to the bank?
Take them to the treasurer's office.
Oh, so you bring them to the treasurer's office. The treasurer then has to actually do the deposit into the or they do it into the general fund and then allocate it to the
Yeah, we fill
revolving?
out the form and say where we
Yeah.
want it to go,
Yeah.
and, yeah.
I mean, they accept credit cards for other things in town, don't they?
electric department, pay your electric
Right.
bill.
Oh,
Gas
yeah.
bill, electric bill, real estate.
Okay.
They take charge for real estate?
I don't know.
Oh, no, wait a minute, no.
What about like, I wonder, yeah, I don't know.
I
But it
know
seems
electric
like,
does.
what about like dog license fees and stuff? Do you have to come in and
Yeah.
pay that in cash, or is that credit card?
I usually
But you
pay
know what, when
online,
you
so
pay
I-
it by
I don't know.
credit card electric bill, there's a charge, there's a fee they charge you
Right.
over and beyond what your fee is. That's why I usually say, forget that, I'm not paying.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know how that would
And I
be.
think that's why Ellen, in her response email, suggested the meeting to iron these things out. Because she said they do indeed, take payments that way, and just, we couldn't have our own separate, perhaps,
Account.
right, and
Yeah.
our own separate way to accept it. It would have to go through the treasurer's office, but,
See,
All
no,
that
when
would
we
be
would
ironed
need
out.
it to go through my senior center and their platform.
That,
But we
I think
can,
would be ironed out.
so it sounds like we don't have, sounds like they're open for discussion. If they were to move forward, it sounds like we would be open to doing that. Okay.
Lisa, do you see this process as simplifying
Yes,
your responsibilities, or,
yeah.
okay?
Absolutely. I think, Well, one, I will say, it's an opportunity whenever people come into the office to interact and have conversation and so forth. But, I mean, it is, it all adds up as well, right? That we are collecting money, we're printing out receipts if they want the receipt, or, so it just, all of those little things add up to time spent. Not saying that it's not worth the time, but it is time spent. I think having the credit card, would be more efficient in that there's actually a even bigger or an easier way for tracking, right? Both on the consumer side and our side. And I think the convenience part for the client is the biggest win for me, so that people can do it at their convenience. But, yeah. Wonderful.
Looks good.
Yeah, and other things, just, I know with Nisha, she was alone in the office last week just due to unforeseen circumstances. So thank you so much to Irene and Deb for really coming in and helping out above and beyond. So appreciate that. And certainly to Nisha and for everybody's advocacy efforts in this room and for outside for making sure that, again, we got the state budget increase. I took up far too much time. I am so sorry, but
No, thank you very much for that very thorough and very
Yeah.
well thought out and well
Honest.
planned director's
It
report.
should be this. It
that
should
was-
be, because you've answered probably a lot of these,
Right, right.
and, right?
Yep. So that moving forward with old business, the update for the Monday, Tuesday van driver has been covered in your thorough report.
Yep.
Pantry and food services updates. Is there anything anybody would like to add to that? Deb, Linda, Irene, anybody who's been in there?
I can't remember if I reported on this last time or not, so I'll just, Janet and I did meet a few weeks ago to talk about the roles of the volunteers in the pantry. And with Janet, I think you all know that we stopped doing Thursday volunteers, and we're just doing one Wednesday volunteer from around 11:45 till the last food delivery goes out the door. And really, after my discussion with Janet, is her preference, which I think is fine, for that volunteer's role, is for the volunteer to really be there to help to take primary responsibility, I shouldn't say help, primary responsibility for shelving Our Neighbor's Table delivery and for putting together the bags, including the perishables and the non-perishables for delivery. So that has been communicated through the Sign Up Genius to the volunteers, and that's the plan that we're moving forward with right now. I have not yet posted the September dates in Sign Up Genius. I kind of wanted to do another quick check-in with Janet and see what she thought about how things were working. And I feel like there's one more important thing I had to say about the pantry and the deliveries, but gone right now.
Was it something about training?
Oh, yes, thank you, Irene. We didn't even rehearse. Yes, Janet would like to hold a training session for the pantry volunteers as well as the delivery volunteers, which I think would be a good idea. And
So I would just add on to that, yeah, we did want to hold so that we can make sure that we are well equipped to hold that training. And so I had spoken with Tracy over at Our Neighbor's Table. They have trainings they hold for their volunteers, and so I think we may sort of tag team and just go into one of their
Yeah.
trainings, which is actually an online training. So for those that are able to do it online, and/or we could show it here if people didn't have the ability to do so in their own homes. Because, it really is a partnership with Our Neighbor's Table, and it wouldn't be possible without them. And so they want to make sure that we are fully understanding, right, the confidentiality pieces, the food safety pieces, but also their values and who we serve and why we serve. We all know, but it's also nice to
Yep.
sort of hear and have it front and center of mind.
So I think it's an excellent idea.
Yeah.
If I may make a suggestion, perhaps postpone that training until the newsletter goes out. See if you get anyone that says, yes, I'd be interested. You may get some 30-something-year-old, a mom at home that would love to come and do this. You never know.
That's true. That's a great
Yeah.
idea.
Because how many people are really doing it? Well, not the drivers, but it's the
Well,
three
there's
of you
about
and
6
Sandy.
of us that do the pantry, 6 of us that are qualified to do the pantry. Irene, Linda, me, Candy, Nancy Webster, Jessica,
Yeah.
her Corey,
Gail.
and Gail has hers. So I think that's, and then the people that do the actual deliveries, because you would want them included in the training.
Yes.
And that's Amy, Gus, Charlie, 4 more people there, I think. So I think there's like a dozen, 10 to 12 people that participate in some way.
Okay. Is there anything else anybody wants to add on pantry food service?
I just have a question. Is Janet going to have the list of people whose bags refill?
Yes.
like-
So that's part of, and I put it in there, I just didn't go into
That's the
detail
first I heard
when
of that.
talking. So I have created, we sort of debriefed about her first, weeks and how things have worked in the past and sort of observations made, since, just joining the team. So, with that in mind, taking all of those pieces of information, we have a page, and it's listed out. I typed it out into the different categories. She's going to then write in what the orders are. She'll put it inside. She'll prep the bags today, like Wednesday mornings, of everything that we currently have in stock. Put the paper into each bag, and then when the volunteer arrives around 11:45 or so, they'll shelf, why can't I think of the words? When the delivery comes, they'll put everything on the shelves and then complete the prepped bags. So,
And
yeah.
approximately, is this number the same?
Yeah, it's been pretty consistent. I mean, certainly you all would know best, but it
Right.
seems like the number's been pretty consistent.
So on that list, like frozen is together, refrigerated is
Yep.
together, okay,
Yep.
fabulous. And Janet will mark off that which she has put in
Yeah, so
the bags.
she'll start out just like we
Anything in the
do.
bags?
Well,
No,
wait
she
a
will
minute.
now. Yeah,
Oh, she is putting?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
thought she wasn't putting.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that
I
either.
didn't,
okay.
That's
yeah,
new,
okay.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
no,
all
we
we're
just- we
responsible
just
for
talked
now is
about
on
that.
Abel's table, coming in and filling those products in the bags.
Yeah,
So-
anything that we don't currently have in
Done in the
stock, so
past.
completing the bags and shelving,
Just so we can
Fabulous.
pass that on to Gail, too.
yeah,
That will streamline, that will add to the streamlining.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
All right, moving on to Friends of the Groveland Council on Aging update. I would like to discuss that.
We are moving into an effort to increase membership at Groveland Day. And we, at the last board meeting of Friends, who some of you were not there, we have a table in the library tent up here and then another table down below. I talked to a few people about those of us who are manning the table. I think it would be a good idea if we had a consistent message going out. So to have an FAQs or a fact sheet that is available to us. So if people have questions about the Friends, that we are given a specific, consistent
saying the same
message about how the money is spent. So I would welcome, put an email out to everybody, this board and the board from the Friends, asking for, ideas of things that we would want to put out, to have available. So that is forthcoming, and we'll get that rolling, and at the Friends meeting coming up at the beginning of September, which is just a few days before Groveland Day, we'll put the finishing touches on that. It'll be just a very simple but well-thought-out position.
And isn't there a follow-up meeting for the calendar raffle a week from tomorrow at 3?
Yes,
August 24th.
August 24th
I didn't catch that.
at 3 PM.
What is it?
Here,
Thursday, August 24th.
Thursday, August 24th,
The
3
Friends
PM,
meeting?
right here, for people who
Because they
would
didn't want
be
to do it
willing
Labor Day,
to help. Yes.
week.
What's
was just-
that?
They didn't want to do it the following week because it was
Correct.
just before Labor Day weekend. So
Yeah.
they set the date for August 24th for the next Friends meeting before Groveland Day.
Yes,
Okay, so
it's-
there isn't one in
September.
September, it's been moved up to the 24th. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think so.
That actually makes it easier.
Gives you a little more time.
Yeah. Mhm.
And have you received the calendar
Yes.
for the newsletter?
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Darcy did that, so.
Yeah.
Good.
Is it looking good?
Of course.
Darcy worked her magic.
Darcy's good.
Anything else on the Friends to update? Okay, thank you. The September-October newsletter, that's already been discussed quite a bit. Is there anything else anyone would like to discuss or have questions about on the newsletter? Okay. Any other old business? Well, aren't we just moving right along? New business, performance evaluation plans. I know you touched on that somewhat in your director's report. Is there anything else to be touched on, questioned, discussed?
Well, the committee that is supposed to be working on that has not yet met for your evaluation, just because of vacations and everything, but we need to get together. It's you, Irene, and me, right?
That's the personnel subcommittee?
Personnel Subcommittee, and we'll come up with a plan to meet separately and hopefully bring it forward at our next board meeting, or is that too soon? I don't know what your plans are.
We can meet, certainly.
I'm sure we'll have something to bring
We'll
forward.
have something to bring
And
forward.
thank you so much for sharing multiple documents
Yes,
Um,
yes.
for comparisons.
Okay. All right, very good. Future programs, including Older Americans Day,
Tomorrow.
tomorrow on August 17th. Any future programs to be discussed?
I will just say that Nisha put together a really great couple of months coming ahead, including, I believe, a chocolate factory tour. So we'll tease that. But yeah, then for social gatherings, I don't have the dates off the top of my head. We just put it together, but in September, we will have just sort of a meet and greet social with staff and whoever would like to come join us for coffee, pastries, that kind of thing. In September, then in October, we will do a Halloween gathering, actually on Halloween.
What day of the week is Halloween, do you
I
know?
feel like it's either a Tuesday or Thursday.
So it's during the week.
Yeah, it's during the week.
It is
Fun.
on Tuesday. Okay.
Yeah, so that will be a couple of things to look forward to.
Yeah.
With
And a-
costume?
Yes, of course.
Really?
What day of the week is it?
Tuesday. Oh.
I
Bring
know.
the kids.
Drive
Are
to
all of
Malden and
these
come all the way back here
future
for it, sorry.
programs that you discussed,
Costumes that
Too bad, I love Halloween.
are they all going to be in the newsletter?
They will be,
Excellent.
yep, yep.
Bummer.
Great.
Oh, my.
That sounds,
It's not mandatory, but it's more fun.
yeah, absolutely. Love it, love it. Anything else about future programs? All right. Discussion of monthly meeting focus areas for the Council on Aging Board.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
What was,
So that I brought up at the last meeting, that I think now that we're staffed, and we don't have to run from crisis to crisis, hopefully,
except for yesterday?
that we should start setting up a schedule and a calendar so that we have different focuses for our board meeting. So we're not just approving minutes. I mean, I think the board needs to be, now that we're in a place where we can do that, I think we need to be a little bit more educational and a little bit more strategic, perhaps. So my suggestion was that we pick some topics, that everyone come to today's meeting with some topics that they would like the board to discuss. Things that we could, the things that I had thought of is, can we spend one meeting talking about the van and really digging into the van's utilization? We have some good starting numbers here, but how many trips are on different days of the week, things like that, so we can really see if there's a better way to utilize that. That was one topic I had thought of. Another one that personally I think would be interesting is to take a meeting and make sure that all of us on the board understand how the revolving fund works and how the grants work. I think that would be very educational. Maybe another one could be about the pantry, if, the people that aren't involved in the pantry wanted to learn more about the pantry. Another idea that I had thought of could be a new programming, day, something over and above what we currently do, ways that we could maybe expand access. So I think, and I'm sure other people have topics too, so that was just my thought, is could we start moving towards having a focus, and maybe limit it to like a 20-minute discussion or something.
Right. My thought was, being a board, maybe reviewing our bylaws
Yep, that should be done annually, probably.
annually, and I believe, I'm not sure if these are the bylaws, our bylaws, but it says in the end, it should be reviewed at least every 5 years, but I think that should be annually, and see if it fits where we are right now, within the realm of, what you can do legally. And another thing was, something that was brought up with the library. Preparing a package or for when we do have, not that I hope we ever have new people come on board. When you come on board here and you're going, what's a revolver? What are they talking about?
Yeah.
We have nothing to show. A package that says, here, new board member, this is what it's about. These are the terms, the LSC, well, all these different grants, all these different, the names, the acronyms, all of that. Here's a copy of our bylaws. Here's a copy of all of that. Maybe spend one meeting. It doesn't have to be every year, but I think that's something that should be done for a board.
Yeah.
Because, especially where we had a big transition this year, I felt like, sorry, guys, you just get thrown in. We have no time to orient you because we have all this other stuff to do. But you didn't get any orientation. I never did.
Right.
I think it should be. It's just, even if it's a packet that you take home and read, it doesn't have to be.
Somebody that has.
So that's, at some point, when we have nothing else to do at a meeting, we could discuss that. Those were my thoughts.
Those are great, I think, those are
That's a very
great.
good idea. And related to that, perhaps, if we do have a meeting on, for example, grants, we could ask someone from the town who's involved with the grants, whether it's Ellen, Michelle, Rebecca, to come into our meeting for about 10 minutes or so or whatever, and discuss how does the grant process work from their point of view. Do things get, for example, Rebecca always has to be pre-approval of a grant before we apply for it. She could talk about that, and then what's the next step? Who applies for the grant money, who receives the grant money, and then how do they get notification to whatever the department is that the money's been received? How do you invoice for payments, things like that?
So signs.
Yeah.
So if we have a topic, discuss that, someone in town hall or someone in another department could come in and share information with us. that would get them a little more involved, and also give people who watch from home the opportunity to learn these things as well. That's a really good idea.
I would like to build on Deb's suggestion, which I think is a good suggestion. If we could each take a lead in one of these topics. And, for instance, I have already delved into bylaws. I would be willing to lead the discussion on that, but everybody, I don't have any expertise in the food pantry, but other people do. That maybe we look at setting up a calendar, and, obviously the bylaws, because there are some stipulations on when you need notice on making changes to bylaws, that would need to be strategically placed, like in March or April. But-
Before that, because it has to be approved at town meeting, so you have to have it on the warrant,
Right.
which is like,
Right, so that there is a process there, and maybe for our next meeting, we look at setting up that calendar.
early on the warrant. Budgeting, just an understanding of the budgeting, not that we will be preparing a budget, but understanding it so that when the director comes with it. I'm just thinking of how confusing a lot of this was. Oh, and understanding my senior center numbers, just even now, duplicated, unduplicated, what goes in that annual report. I mean, not that we are doing it, but just to understand what it is. It was a learning curve for all of us this year. And I think the more, you don't know what you don't know,
Yep.
so.
Yeah, and then if our goal could be perhaps as a corollary to each of these topics, if there is a topic that needs to be documented, to Larry's point, maybe one of us takes that responsibility. So that we don't just talk about it, we have a physical, what you're talking about is great, but having a physical document that, rather than Irene having to take everything in the minutes, one person could say,
Prepare a document.
okay, this is the document even afterwards. It doesn't even need to be in preparation because there might be things that come out of it.
And that can go in the board manual.
Handbook, or yep. And this, maybe some of these things won't be every November we come back to the same thing, but maybe we could call 1 month, like, I don't know, learn about this, and then, maybe this year we learn about my senior center, the next year we learn about whatever.
Right.
But there are some things that will be recurring every single year. So, okay.
Yeah, very good idea, and I know I told you all, and actually sent out, I would like to do a weekly email. I didn't do one recently because there really wasn't a heck of a lot to put in there. But in that email, it could suggest, okay, everybody suggest some topics, and we've already got some great ideas going, and then perhaps select one for the next meeting, so that we can, get right started on this even at the next meeting.
And
So
who
I
would
can
like to headline that? or,
address that.
Take, yeah.
Yeah, so that it can be on the agenda in plenty of time.
Okay.
Very good. Is there any other new business? All right, very good. It looks like the next scheduled meeting is September 20th. Seeing that date, unfortunately, I will be unable to attend. I have a wedding. That's the next date.
Wait a
What? To attend. I have a wedding to attend.
Laurel
Is that
keeps
right?
thinking she never
So
has to
now I'm
run.
vice chair. I gotta do it again. Oh, it's okay.
What?
Nothing.
All right, could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at 10:35?
Make a motion?
A second? Oh, Linda.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
All right. Are we doing this picture?
Yes.